with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
Lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last. He has ransomed me, his grace runs. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say. Come on, lift it up this morning, sing it.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
All right. Good morning. We're so glad you're here today. Go ahead and take a second. Greet somebody around you. Shake someone's hand next to you, and you can take your seat.
Good morning, guys. Hey, she's trying to hide back there, but Sarah is so good. I love her so much. She's so great. Yeah. Welcome. You guys feeling good? Yeah? I'm feeling great. I lost my cell phone, and then I didn't have it for 12 hours, and I could feel brain cells regrowing. And guys, I read a book on accident, and I was just making plans to exercise, and my friend gave it back to me, so that's over. No big deal. But man, that felt great. I feel like Frodo now, though. It's like weighing me down again. But I'm glad you're here. It is Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. I can't wait for Christmas. Are you guys excited? Yeah, good. Hey, I got a bunch of stuff. I know you are. I got a bunch of stuff that I want to share with you guys. First thing's this. This time of year, I know a lot of you are seriously dating, and maybe you're thinking about getting engaged. Maybe there's a ring in the future in front of the Christmas tree. It's going to be a great time. We have a premarital class coming up. Perfect timing for you guys, all right? Jim was telling me every man in here is terrified right now. I get it, but I have to make the announcement. I'm sorry. So it's called One, and it's coming up on January 11th and 12th. It's an awesome, so if you're seriously dating, maybe you're already engaged, maybe you're thinking about getting married, all of those stations, so maybe you're gonna get married in like a year or something, all that's good. We do this a couple times a year. It's been a while since we did it, but it's really, really awesome. There's a cost involved with it. It's for materials, and there's something called the SYMBIS test, which is an acronym for something. I think the acronym is like, my wife wouldn't have married me if I took it. I think that's the acronym, but you guys, it really just helps you figure out your communication gaps and stuff that you're missing. It's a really, really great workshop, so I recommend jumping online, sign up for that thing if you're in that station of life. Everything else is Christmas related. I tried to make that one Christmas related, but it's not. So the first thing is this: our Christmas times, December 22nd, 23rd, are these. So we added at 2 o'clock on Saturdays, 2, 4, and 6, and Sunday at 9 and 11. For those of you online, we are streaming both the 9 and the 11 on Sunday, so you can check that out as well. And for all you guys, if you have people around the country, maybe they live in places like Florida or Texas or places I would never live, no offense online, but maybe you want to say, hey, this is my church, check it out, and you want to give them that link, please do so as well. So that is coming up really quick. Related to that is over in our kids ministry. If you have kids over there, when you pick them up today, they have advent calendars for your family. So it's really, really cool. You can cut out each day has an activity and something for your family to read together. It did start yesterday. You can catch up on that day. They're totally free. Just go over there, pick them up. Really, really cool resource. If you don't have kids and you still want one, go ahead. We got extras. Go grab them, mail them to people, do whatever you want to do. It's a really awesome resource available today over there. Third thing related to Christmas is, if you missed it out in the lobby, our partners from around the world are selling handmade goods from their partners around the world out there for Christmas gifts. So you can go out there, see if anything catches your eye for something that a bunch of it's gone already. And so they had really cool Christmas cards. I think they're almost gone. So if you want to jump up and grab those right now while I'm talking, you can do that. I believe in this for one reason. Every penny goes back to what they're doing. So it's really cool stuff, and we're not making any money off of it. Every single penny goes right back to what they're doing around the world, and we really believe in every single one of them. Related to that, they're also out there with trip dates for 2019 and also internships with some of our partners. So if you want to connect with them, right there in the middle of the lobby, please do that. The last thing related to missions is this. Our brand new missions wall is up. So if you go out here into the lobby and go right, leaving today, it's beautiful. It has all of our international and local partners. You can probably see it online at some point too, but I would love for you guys to go, experience that and engage with all of our partners around the world and here locally too. Cool? Awesome. All right. Sarah's got one more song. I'm going to pray. I'm so glad you guys are here for this brand new series. So God, I just thank you as we come in here today. God, I thank you that you have a purpose and a reason for each one of us to be here. And so God, I pray that no matter where we are in life, if we're on top of the world and stuff is just going really well, or if we're at our lowest point and we can't even imagine how stuff would get worse, God, I pray that no matter where we fall in that today, whether we feel like you're close to us, whether we're just trying to figure out who you are, God, I pray that today we would give you this space and this time, just this hour that we sit in this room and hear what you put on Jim's heart for us in this season, this time. God, I pray for those out there online, wherever they might be. God, for those of us in this room, that we would experience something significant today that gives us hope in this season. God, we love you, we trust you, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Trapped in my life, heavy like a stone, waiting for the river to rise. I wanna lash out, I wanna let it out, as I can feel it on the back of my tongue, on the back of my tongue. Oh, hard to hold this fire inside me. Sometimes it's finding hard to hold this fire inside me. It's not really like me to lash out. I wanna let it out. I wanna lash out. I wanna lash out. I got something to say, my start a riot. Rip that tape from my mouth, I won't be quiet. Cause everything is nothing till you realize it's something you want. I wanna lash out, I wanna let it out, as I can feel it on the back of my tongue, on the back of my tongue. Hard to hold this fire inside me. Sometimes it's finding hard to hold this fire inside me. It's not really like me to lash out. I wanna let it out. I wanna lash out. I wanna let it out. I can feel the pump come out of the bottom. I can feel the pump come out of the bottom. I can feel the pump come out of the bottom. I can feel the pump come out of the bottom. Lash out. I wanna let it out, cause I can feel it on the back of my tongue, on the back of my tongue. Hard to hold this fire inside me. Sometimes it's finding hard to hold this fire inside me. Not really like me to lash out. I wanna let it out. I wanna lash out. I wanna let it out. I gotta lash out.
You ever hear a song and it just makes you feel old? Like that right there. That makes me wish I could dance and had hair. And I don't have either. I tried to move earlier, I pulled a muscle. It's bad. Yeah, sometimes you just feel old. And hey, just at all of our campuses, they just did that song. So just give it up for your band right now. That was me. That's good stuff. Yeah. So have you noticed like all the kids these days are wearing like holes in their jeans and stuff like that? And somebody came up to me the other day and went, hey, cool pants, did you buy them? I'm like, no, they're just old. They're just wearing out. But I'm hip, who knew? All right, hey, welcome to Flatirons. We're going to kick off a new series today for Christmas, but let me just kind of set up how I got to where we're going over the next month. So a couple weeks ago, I was gone 2 weekends in a row. I was actually in Spain, and I was visiting one of our international partners, Global Scope, and they're out in all of our lobbies, and there's internships available and all trips. It's a really great organization. They work with university students all over the world, and so I'm over there in Spain, and I actually went with another one of our global partners, James and Aaron Henderson. So the four of us met up in Spain, and we went over there and we were in Valencia, Spain, and we did like a mini retreat for the staff there that does the ministry there. But we had some time on the front end and on the back end to just do some fun stuff. And so God always teaches me great stuff when I'm on mission trips, and I come back and I share it, and you're all like, oh no, he's gonna be weird. So like this time though, God taught me about sangria. It's wonderful. It's a gift from the Lord, and it's deceptive though. Watch out, because it's like a big juice box, and they serve it in like pitchers with straws. And then I looked at my friend James and went, "Hey, I can't feel my face." And so be careful out there, kids. It's the holidays. And anyway, but he teaches me a lot of stuff. So we had some time in the front and the back to do some really, really cool stuff. And one of those things is, whenever you're in Europe, you always visit these cathedrals. And so there's this one cathedral in Spain, in Barcelona, that we went to, and it was just amazing. I mean, the picture just can't get it. It's been 150 years in the making, and it's not done yet. It's worth over $1 billion in modern dollars. And there's another like steeple spire that's going to go in the middle that's almost 50% taller than anything you see there. And it's just nuts. You can see it from miles and miles away. So you go into this thing, and it's a big tourist attraction now. And like on one side of the building, Gaudi is the architect, and then there's all the statues are about the birth of Jesus. On one side of the building. On the other side of the building, all the statues are about the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. And then the entire interior of the place is all about resurrection and life. It's really, really, really cool. And it's so tall, all right? It's so tall that you go in there and they have tables with mirrors so you can look at the ceiling, because everybody's walking around like this and they just run into each other, and it's not good, all right? So everybody's it's just overwhelming, the stained glass, and I was conflicted too. Because here's this huge $1 billion building with all these beautiful things going on, and people talking about the architecture and the glass and the windows and all that. And I remember thinking to myself, this is about Jesus, right? I felt a little judgmental, I'll be honest with you, but I looked around because nobody's really talking about Jesus. They were talking about the architecture and the history, and everybody's taking pictures, and I get it, because it's a big tourist. It's a very, very interesting place. But as we were leaving the building, and we'll get to Christmas, I promise. But as we were leaving the building, the doors that we went out, we were right in the middle of all these statues on the side of the building about the crucifixion of Jesus. And so everybody's like, before they leave the property, they're getting those final pictures. And we were doing the same thing. But I looked over, and there was this girl, a beautiful girl, probably in her 20s, and she was sitting on one of the statues, and she was having her boyfriend take her picture, like in a sexy pose, like, and that's my sexy pose, take it. All right, and somebody's gonna do a screen cap, and it's gonna be all over the world. I'm gonna go viral. All right, and but here's this girl in a sexy pose, and it's a statue, and I felt weird to me. All right, it just felt weird to me. It gets worse. And then I looked up at what statue she was actually leaning against, and she was doing a sexy pose against this statue. It's a pillar that has Jesus tied to it while they're scourging him. And I kind of looked at it, and I wanted to go and go, you can't do that. This just feels wrong. You can't do that. Are you not paying attention to this? And it really put me in a funk. I mean, it really did. I mean, like we walked off the property and we went down the street and we went to Five Guys. Remember? There's one right next door to the cathedral. Oh, I love this world. Anyway, and so I'm in there and I'm kind of in my head. I'm kind of in a funk. And James says, hey, what's up? And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, that felt weird. And it bothered me for a couple of hours. And as I'm walking around Barcelona, I had a kind of an aha moment. I don't have a lot of them, but I had a good one. And here's my aha moment. The same thing happened 2,000 years ago when that actually was going on. Like when Jesus was like tied to that pillar and people were whipping him, or when he was nailed to that cross, people were actually right in front of him throwing dice to see who won his stuff. And nobody cared. And nobody was paying attention. And here's the thing that just blows me away, that is going to get me to this title of this series, is that while Jesus was on that cross, or when he was tied to that pillar getting beaten and crucified, his response was to look down and go, Father, they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what I am doing on their behalf. They don't even care. But I'm going to do it anyway. My question is, who does that? Who does that? And so I was in my head for a while, and I'll be honest, I was feeling kind of self-righteous. I'm a good person, and that girl's a horrible human being for leaning against that. And I'm walking around Barcelona, and then here's my like pop your spiritual bubble moment, all right? I'm walking down the street, and here's my second aha moment. I do that all the time. Well, here's what I mean by that. I claim that Jesus is the most important person in my life. I claim that what he did on a cross, 3 days later rising from the dead, is the focus, the center of my life. I make a living out of standing on stages like this and saying, hey, let's live our lives with God now. In this life, not after we die and go someplace else and live forever. No, I mean, let's live every day of this life. Let's go to work with Jesus. Let's go to school with Jesus. Let's get married with Jesus. Let's go through our divorce with Jesus. Whatever we have to go through, let's do it with God, living like he's right here. But most of the time, I operate my life as if he's an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, I saw a picture. Or I heard a song or something, but the normal like pace of my day is like that. And so when it comes to Christmas, it probably just brings it out of me more than anything else. I mean, I would love to say, I am so spiritual that when anybody has said the word Christmas over the last couple months, I immediately go to, oh, thank you, Lord, for what you sent to us. That's not it. And most of the time over the last month, when people say Christmas, I go like, oh gosh, it's coming. Right, like I got so much to do. Like I got to put up decorations. If you come in my neighborhood and drive down my street, it looks like we hate Jesus. There's not one decoration up. There's not a light bulb. There's not a tree. There's not a wreath. There's not a reindeer. There's nothing. I mean, raked my yard since Thanksgiving. I mean, it's a disaster. And I was like, oh, I got to put up decorations. I got to borrow someone's ladder, and the lights won't work. Right? And then I got to go shopping. I hate to shop. Robin, can you just Amazon Christmas, please? All right, and can we do that? And then I got Christmas parties coming up, and I've got a Christmas series to plan. I've got all this stuff, everything I have to do between now and Christmas morning. And then I'll go, oh yeah. And thank you, Lord, for sending Jesus. And then I got to go shopping, right? I mean, it's just like, I just get caught up in all that. Now, the purpose of saying all that is not some guilt trip or anything like that, although I think I need to pay attention to it in my life. But that does bring me to this series that we're going to do for the next 3 or 4 weeks. See, we're going to look at what Christmas is all about, and you'd expect that in a Christmas series, but here's what I want to do is I want to look even more importantly at why God did this. Why God sent Jesus to us? What kind of God would do that? Who does stuff like that? And the answer is going to be Jesus, right? So if you want to know what kind of God we have, we just got to look at Jesus. A guy named Paul, who wrote like the last fourth of the Bible, he says everything that you need to know about Almighty, eternal, forever, infinite God, everything you need to know about God can be found, but just getting to know and looking in the face of Jesus, this is the kind of God we have, and this is the kind of stuff that he does. So here's where I want to go over the next several weeks, all right? Over the last 2 or 3 months, since Labor Day, we have, as a church, we've been unpacking just 3 chapters of the Bible. It's found in one of the biographies of Jesus, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, 6, and 7. We made it halfway through 5, all right? And this Sermon on the Mount that Jesus gave out on the side of a mountain 2,000 years ago, we've been looking at that and unpacking and trying to answer some really big questions. And these are questions that every human being has all their lives, and it comes up a lot of different times. But the questions we're trying to answer is this: what kind of person do I want to be, and what kind of life do I want to live? We all have that question. And we all go, I want to be a good man or a good woman, and I want to have a fairly decent life, all right? But what does that mean, and how do you get it? And so what Jesus has been saying is, I have some thoughts on it, and I can actually tell you how to really achieve and experience what a good person is and how to live a good life. And so he basically says this, just follow me, just come with me. All right, and you don't have to have it all figured out anytime soon. Just take one step in my direction. And he said, living your life with him, he says, live your life with me in my kingdom. Go through life every day with me. Just get to know me. Get to know who I really am. And here's what we've said over and over the last several months. If you spend enough time with Jesus and begin to listen to him and watch him, here's the goal, is you're going to take a look at all your thoughts and all your ideas and all your definitions that life has kind of handed you. And you're going to look at those. And the number one thing Jesus said is you might want to rethink it. And so as I get to know Jesus and how he thinks and then how he sees things, my goal is that I'll start thinking like him, and then I'll see stuff like him, and then when I find myself in a circumstance, maybe something different will come out of me. And I maybe start doing something kind of like Jesus would do. Not because I'm trying to be good. Not because I'm not gonna get mad, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna say that anymore, I'm gonna cut way back on that, I'm gonna try really, really, really hard. No, I want to be different on the inside. See, so we're going to hit this a lot over the next month. So whenever this question comes up, like who does that? What we're going to say is, well, Jesus does. But let me tell you what the goal is. I was going to say the goal of this series, but really it's kind of the goal of life, really, is that when we go into a different circumstance and face stuff, and we've looked at some big ones over the last several months in here, like sometimes you get so angry you just want to murder somebody. Or sometimes, it's just so hard, you just want to tap out on the marriage and go do something else. We look at some big stuff, but the goal is so who does that? Jesus does that, but here's the goal, right? But who does that? And the goal is, I want to. There's no one like Jesus, but he does that. And maybe for the first time in my life, I did something close. I want to be more like that. Right? That's my goals. And we're gonna have an assignment when we leave here, and it has to do with that. But most of us can hang with everything I've said so far, at least theoretical, that most of us would say, yeah, I wish I would get angry less, or I wish I would murder less and cut way back on the adultery. Most of us can hang with, yeah, that all makes sense. Until we get to what we're gonna talk about today. What I wanna look at today in this chapter 5, and then we're gonna take a time out and for January, but we'll come back to chapter 6 later. But what we're going to look at today is the part of, and I would even say the whole Bible, that I have my biggest problem with Jesus. And we all have some verses in the Bible where we go, I wish he hadn't said that. Some of us have entire pages. We whoop, I don't know what you're talking about, right? And so we just wish he hadn't said it. And this is at the top of the list. So when we come to the question, who does that? When we hear what Jesus throws out going, I want you to think about maybe living your life this way. My question is, who does what Jesus is about to describe is? Not me. I don't do that. I don't even want to do that. I think it's kind of dumb to even think about doing that. And I don't understand why Jesus would want me to do that. And so I'm gonna give you what we're gonna talk about over the next month. And even though you didn't know Jesus said it, you heard something about it somewhere else, most of us are gonna sit and going, yeah, I'm out. I don't wanna do that. See if this sounds familiar. All right, here we go. So you've heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other as well. Awesome, right? If someone sues you and tries to take your tunic, your shirt, give him your coat as well. If someone forces you to go 1 mile with him, go with him 2 miles. It gets better. Give to the one who asks, and don't turn away from the one who wants to borrow money from you. Do you know my relatives? Right? How about this? You've heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. He makes his sun rise on the evil and the good, sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love only those who love you, what reward do you get? Do not even tax collectors do that? And tax collectors in this culture would be translated traitors and terrorists. Do not even terrorists like people who like them? Where's the reward in that? And if you only greet your brothers, people that agree with you on everything, how's that any different than others? Do not even pagans do that? And culturally today, it would be like, people don't have anything to do with God. They do that. Then he caps it with this awesome thing. Be perfect, therefore, as your Father God in heaven is perfect. Now, here's why, all right? Here's why, and I think I'm speaking for most of us. Here's why for most of us, our first response to all that is, who does that? Not me. There's no way I want to ever do that. There's several reasons, at least for my life, where I hear Jesus say that, going, I have no interest in that. The first reason would be this. It's just not realistic, right? I mean, you're thinking that. In today's world, if you try to embrace that as the way you live your life, someone wants to borrow from you and you're like, here, all right? And someone smacks you and you just like, it's okay, right? Listen, it won't work. Not in today's world, all right? I mean, if I do that, Jesus, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get run over, I'm gonna get ripped off, I'm gonna get taken advantage of, I'm gonna be a doormat. That sounds appealing. So I don't really want to do it. The second reason, it's related to the first, is that whenever we hear Jesus say stuff like that, we do what we always do. We just assume that he's saying, here's a rule you must do in order for me to love you or something like that. Jesus is passing out more laws and rules. And if I follow his rules and laws, this is why this has been a deal breaker for a lot of people going, I don't want to do this. If I do that, I will be a weak person, a passive person, a wussified person. I won't be able to protect the things that are most dear to me. And I don't understand why Jesus wants me to do that. So here's what we do, okay? When we hear, like turn the other cheek or whatever that is, here's what I do, and I think I speak again for a lot of us. We hear that, and then we make up a story in our head that starts with, so Jesus, are you saying, and then we go way out. Like when I hear Jesus say, someone smacked you, turn the other cheek, here's where I go. So Jesus, are you saying that if someone were to break into my house in the middle of the night, and start, like, they have guns, and they're gonna come in, they're gonna take my stuff, and they're gonna go upstairs, and they're gonna murder or rape my family? Are you saying that I'm supposed to, like, stand in the corner and just pray for them? Go in peace. Can I pick up that TV for you? I mean, is that what you're saying I'm supposed to do? Because I'm not gonna do that. And I don't understand why Jesus would ever expect anybody to do that. And so just in case you're gathering your things and head for the door, let me make it clear, that is not what Jesus is teaching here. Now, it is what I was taught when I was a kid. If you love Jesus, you just get out of the way. And I'm not going to sign up for that. See, here's the thing, the important thing to remember here. None of what we're going to look at over the next month makes any sense. It doesn't seem reasonable. It's not realistic if you just look at it in isolation. And most of the time, I've always heard this taught just jerked out of context and going, okay, it's going to stand alone. It doesn't stand alone. All right, remember this? Everything Jesus teaches, especially some of the really hard stuff, it doesn't make any sense unless you remember it's built on something he has already said that's foundation to this. And if you take away the foundation, it falls apart. So here's what we've been looking at over the last several months that will put this a little bit in context. So what Jesus has been doing, and this is what he did of the whole 3 years he was teaching, is he's been describing what happens when a person begins to live their everyday life. Not their religious life, not their church life. Like get up in the morning and go to school and go to work and go on dates and go shopping at the mall. You do all that with God. And the result is if you spend enough time with Jesus, he rubs off on you and it changes the kind of person you are on the inside. And that's what he's concerned about. I guess I could sum up the last 3 or 4 months with this. Jesus is more concerned with the kind of person that you are. He's more concerned with that than the things that you are doing, right or wrong. He's certainly concerned about this, but unless we pay attention to this is a moot point. But this is what all religion seems to care about, or church. This is how I was raised in church. It didn't have anything to do with what was going on inside. It's like, did you do that right? Did you do that wrong? Did you go to that movie? Did you drink that? Were you with her? Whatever that is, it was rules and regulations. And if all you do is focus on what you're doing on the outside and ignore what's going on the inside, most of us are strong enough, we can pull it off for a while. We can act nice. I'm not gonna lose my temper. I'm not gonna say it again, whatever that. We're gonna grit our teeth and we're gonna gut our way through it. Some of us are so strong, we can make it weeks, months, years, and try to control what's going on the outside. But then the day comes, and we've all had that day, where somebody pushes our button or pulls our trigger, and then, what's really inside that never got changed comes out and lands and flattens everybody around. And nothing, we look in the mirror and go, see, you'll never change. Because nothing changed on the inside. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this, that we got to remember is that Jesus didn't, and he says this over and over, he didn't come to pass out more rules. He says it over and over, I did not come to throw more religious junk at you that you're not going to do either. You have enough. That's not what I've been teaching the whole time. What Jesus is doing here is the same thing he's been doing, and he's saying, I'm not just going to look at what you're doing right or wrong. I want to look at I want to look at what's going on in your heart. Right? The way we've been looking at it is, so that happened. All right, that happened. You got slapped. We're gonna look at that here, all right? That happened. I wanna go way upstream, remember this metaphor? And see what's been happening over the weeks, months, and decades that finally landed to you and I just going at it. I wanna look at that, because if that doesn't change, it's just gonna be more of that. Right, we're not gonna just look at behaviors. We're gonna ask what's going on in a person's heart. Because, again, we gotta be honest, all right? In the moment, we keep doing that. And there's something inside us that if I do that, it will get me what I want, or it'll get me what I feel like I need, but it never has yet. It hasn't, right? But again, in the moment, it feels like it's my only option. Slapping back is the only option I have, and it's actually making it works. It's just the only thing I know to do. Unless, there's a big word here, right? This is the number one thing Jesus taught. We gotta rethink that. Repent is the word. You gotta rethink that. You got to rethink how you think about everything, because maybe there's something else going on here that you need to look at. That make sense? So here's what I want to look at, 2 verses, again, that speaking as a man, these are the things that say, I don't know if I want to be a Christian. These are the deal breakers that say, no, I'll do this other stuff. I don't know if I can do this. So let's look at two of the for me, are the hardest verses in the entire Bible. And we already looked at them. Let's just tear them apart a little bit. So you've heard it said, so Jesus is going to give the religious rule, then he's going to give like a better option, right? So you've heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, here's a better way, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other as well. And so I want to be a good person. I want a good life. And Jesus says there's 2 ways to do that. There's religion, and then I have some thoughts on the matter too that might be better. So here's the religious way. You've heard it said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. So there's a chapter in your Bible, all right, Leviticus chapter 24, that is an entire list of rules and laws about if somebody does something to you, this is what you can do back. And I mean, it's pretty inclusive. Everything from if somebody breaks your arm, here's what you can do back. If somebody shoots, I love it, I just hit me. Shoot your eye out, you'll shoot your eye out. It's a Christmas story. Anyway, so if somebody pokes your eye out, this is what you're allowed to do back. If somebody kills your cow, this is what you're allowed to do back. But it's also a list of, but you're not allowed to do more than that. So there's actually a law in the Bible that says if someone breaks your arm, you can break theirs. Someone going, that's in the Bible? I'm a Christian, all right? If someone pokes your eye out, you're allowed to poke theirs. If someone kills your cow, you can have one of their cows. It's actually, but also in there, it says this. If someone breaks your arm, you're not allowed to break their arm and their leg just to show them. That's too much. If someone pokes your eye out, you don't go, well, you're going to be blind on my watch. You don't get to say that, all right? If they take your cow, you don't get everything they own. That's too much. Now, here's a question, all right? Ask yourself this question. Why would a person say, you broke my arm, I ought to be able to break your arm? What is it in us that goes, you hurt me, I'm hurting you? What is it that says, you insulted me, I'm gonna insult? What is it that when somebody does something to us, we want to do something back to them? And here's the answer. I think we're looking for something good, I really do. I think we're looking for justice. Right? And it just feels like this will get us there. I mean, if you break my arm, I ought to be able to break your arm. That's just fair. Right? I mean, we're wanting to make things right. And there's just something within us that says, I want to hit you back because in my mind, you hit me and I hit you, and somehow that evens the score, and now we're okay. Or if you do this to me and I do this to you, then karma will come back into balance. I don't know what it is. And then if I just make it fair, then we can put all this behind us and we can walk on. And it's never worked, has it? It's never fixed. It's never solved anything. And after a while, it doesn't make you feel better eventually. Let's be honest, though. It does a little bit. If someone hits me and I go, oh yeah, how about this? And boom, and I hit him back, it feels kind of good, right? Yeah, I showed them, and then I walk away. But then later in the day, here's what I realized. Well, that didn't help. It didn't help, and now I already heard that they're planning on doing this to me, and then I'm gonna have to go up here, and I'm gonna have to do this and escalate, and then finally none of us have eyes and teeth. right? I mean, it just keeps on going. So we're talking about getting slapped and insulted and stuff like that. So let's get to the heart of what's really going on, because let's see if something might change inside of us so that something different might come out. Now, before I do that, again, this is just a part of the Bible that's been taught horribly. So let me tell you what this doesn't mean, okay? This whole, if someone slaps you or attacks you or whatever, then turn the other cheek. He's not talking or applying this to government policies and what countries ought to do if another country does that to them. He's not talking about like the military or police agencies about how they ought to operate out there. So he's not talking about if your country gets invaded by another country, you just stand by and turn the other cheek. No. He's not saying, hey, cops, all right, listen, if you're out there and someone's shooting at you, just pray for them and let them shoot you in the other side of your face. No, okay, as a matter of fact, let me give you 2 verses, all right, you can look up later. In Romans chapter 13, a guy named Paul, he says this. He says that, and if you work for any government agency, you need to pay attention to this, all right? He says that governments are actually charged by God and will be held accountable by God to provide and protect the people within their established borders. You hear that? God has put authority in charge and will hold them responsible for taking care of the people within their established borders. When I say borders, don't worry about it. I'm not getting political. I'm just saying we all have a scope of responsibility that we've been charged to take care of. So it's not standing out there and being, passive. It also applies, please hear this, all right? It also applies, Jesus is not talking about our role as leader and protector of our family. He's not saying you need to be passive when it comes to protecting your family or your children. Paul writes this to a guy named Timothy. He says, a person that does not provide and protect for their family, especially the people living under their roof, this is what he says, you're worse than an unbeliever, right? So you're worse. So this has nothing to do with if somebody breaks into your house and starts to take your stuff or start to hurt your family, your only option is to stand over by the fireplace and just pray for them. Not going to happen. Not in my house. I'll just be really, really honest with you. This is going to give me so many emails, and I'm looking forward to them. If you break into my house in the middle of the night and try to hurt my family, you're leaving in a bag. I'm that guy. And I have a lot of them, all right? That's all I'm saying. And if that hurts your feelings, I don't care, all right? So here's what I'm saying. I'm not making any more statement. Don't come in my house. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, all right, let's go on. All right, so then that's what Jesus is talking about. What is Jesus talking about? Well, let me put it in the form of a question and see if we can get there, right? How about this? We're asking this question, right? What kind of person I want to be? So what kind of person immediately punches back whenever they get punched? And here's my first response. Awesome person. Strong person. Person says, I'm not a victim. You're not going to do that to me. That's my first response, okay? So let me put it a little bit different. I'm going to add a word in here and see if it means something different. What kind of person would you be if and what's the next word? First response. What kind of person would you be if your first response wasn't to immediately hit back when you are hit? So again, remember this. Jesus is not passing out some rule that says in all times, in all circumstances, in all situations, you be passive and don't hit back. That's not true. There may be times when fighting back is the right thing to do. There may be times when you go, I have to fight back or something worse is actually going to happen, right? It's like when we were talking about divorce a few weeks ago. God never meant for any of us to go through divorce, but he also has a compassionate heart and realizes, but you know what? People are really mean to each other, so there may be times in your life where you have to get one, right? That's just reality. And it's the same thing with fighting. He's not passing a rule going at all times in all places, never, ever fight back. That's not the question or the directive here. Here's what I want to look at. What kind of person would you be if your first response wasn't to, without even thinking, just slap, right? Hit, punch, insult, injury for injury, evil for evil. Now remember, okay, this teaching is very important to remember. It's based on a foundational thing that he said earlier, that if you rip that out of it, it just falls apart. So let me throw out a few things we've covered over the last few months in here, okay? The first thing is this. When you know who you are, and let me rephrase that. When you know who Jesus says that you are, and you agree with him, We just sang that song at all of our campuses, all right? I am who you say I am. I'm not my past. I'm not the thing I've been holding on to for all my life. I'm not what my husband, wife said about me. I'm not who my bad dad defined me. I'm not what they said at school about me. That's not who I am. I used to think that, but you know what? I let go of that. I'm rethinking it. I'm holding on to what Jesus says. I agree with who Jesus says I am. So now, you know what? When you do that to me and when you say that to me, all right, I have nothing to prove anymore. So bring it on. Because who I am doesn't have a question mark anymore. So whatever you have to say, fine. I'm okay. I don't have to prove anything by doing something back to you. How about this? Does this sound familiar? How about, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And what Jesus is talking about, you have this ache in your stomach going, that's not right, and I've done everything I can to make it right, and I don't know how to do it. Well, in the kingdom, Jesus says, you'll be satisfied. Outside the kingdom, on your own, you're just going to be fighting. Insult for insult, punch for punch, pain for pain. Until again, it just escalates out. He says, but Jesus says this, in the kingdom, he'll look at us and go, you've done everything you know to do. Let me take it from here. I'll satisfy the thing that, it doesn't matter if you beat up the whole world. You're not gonna be satisfied, but I got it. Or how about this? Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you on account of me. And we've all been there. We're out there trying to do the right thing. We came in here, one of our campuses, and we looked at our marriage, we looked at our kids, we looked at our parents, we looked at a really important relationship, and we walked out of here going, I'm gonna try it. And you did, and you know what? You got the stuff beat out of you. You got lied about, you got attacked. People said the worst things about you, and you're just trying to do the right thing for yourself and for your family, and people came after you. And Jesus' response is, oh, buddy, me too. I get it. But I'm with you, you're gonna be all right, all right? Or how about this? In the kingdom, my identity and worth, not at stake. I have nothing to prove. So I don't have to get angry and then let that spin into contempt and then look at you and redefine you as something that I can actually attack and then hurt you. I don't have to go there anymore. That's what I've always done my whole life. So let me ask one more question and give you a story and we'll get out of here. What if you were the kind of person who's willing to look at the bigger picture? And you don't just look at, okay, I got slapped, or she said that about me and it made me mad. But what if you don't just look at that, but you're able to kind of see it different? Because remember the whole goal of this thing is, I'm trying to think like Jesus would think here, so I can see that the way Jesus would see it, and then maybe that will do something inside of me, and actually I'll engage with it different. So I want to tell you a story, and then we're going to learn a new song and get out of here. So I got to give some disclaimers on it. So I'm going to tell a story about something I did right. Now, time out, okay? I would love to stand up here and go, that's how I operate now. This is what I do all the time. Nope, I did it one time in Spain. I got to reach way back and find one, all right? I'm going to give you a story about the one time that what I'm teaching today, I got kind of right. And I haven't done it well since then. I've had a couple moments close to it, but I'm gonna give you one, and then we're gonna walk out of here with an assignment going, let's all get one. All right, that's it, okay? So I was in Spain a few weeks ago, and I'm working with Global Scope, this college ministry over there in Spain, and so it's all made up of, the staff is all made up of like 20-somethings, and they're all young and just really like on fire and stuff like that. And there's this one guy on their staff, and I'm gonna call him Bob, because I didn't get permission to tell a story, so his name's Bob. It's not really his name, but anyway, but Bob's on their staff, and he's annoying as heck. I mean, he just rubs everybody the wrong way. He's sarcastic, he's cynical, he has really, really, sharp, humor, and everybody loves him. They go, that's just Bob, he's annoying, all right? But everybody loves him. But anyway, so I was getting to know Bob a little bit over there, and I've come to find out he grew up in a church that I actually know that church, and I actually know his pastor. We went to the same college together, but he has a lot of baggage with church. So the church he grew up in, he just described it, it's just total hypocrisy, and they would say one thing and they would do a lot of some other things. And so he hates pastors, and he especially hates pastors of big churches. So we're gonna do great, right? But over those 3 days, he just kept trying to push my buttons. He was just like, yeah, what about this? What about that? And then he did this like 10 times a day. He would remind me of how old I am. What do you mean? He'd go like, that's because you're old. Or you're almost dead. You know, it's really soothing, relationship building things. So kids, file this away. Doesn't work. All right, so anyway, but he kept on just pushing. And he's like, and he had a problem with Flatirons. Like, it's so big, and what he's looking for is, what's your line of hypocrisy? Because there's no way you can do something like this without watering it down or, telling a half-truth. And so he's trying to find that place where he can go, see, you're a hypocrite like all the rest of them. Now, I can be honest with you, my typical response when people come after me, but especially when they come after Flatirons, is I have a very short fuse, and I get mad fast. And so here's the other thing is, there's several times in that week that I thought to myself, I have the verbal and theological skills to flatten you, all right? And there's several times I want to put this little piece of crap back in his lane. Pray for me. I didn't say I was a good person. There's a good thing in here. Just wait for it, all right? I could have done it, but this time I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. Sangria, I assume. But anyway, so he just keeps punching. And then on the last night, we were back at the hotel, and so he kept on pushing, and he brought up my wife, Robin. Yeah, wait, all right? And so we're sitting there around the table, and he says, like Robin, and I guess he knows about us, and he says, I know her story. She's bipolar and she has migraine headaches and she's had a lot of illnesses. How do you get up there and tell her story? That's not your story. That's her story. How do you have a right to tell her story? And I went, time out, buddy. We've been married 35 years. We've done some crap together. It's our story. Yeah, but it's really her story. And how can you really relate how hard that is? And I do my best. I'll stand up here, and you guys have heard me say this before. There are seasons of our life and of our marriage where I have come home and I have found Robin between the bed and the wall, banging her head against the wall, asking God, please kill me, because if you'll just kill me, everybody's life gets easier and better, right? And some of us have been there. And here's Jim's response. There's the good response where I look and go, oh, babe, it's going to be okay. We'll get through this together. Then there's the other response I don't say out loud where I go, you got a point. You're right. Sometimes it just feels like this is just all over, right? And he goes, you say that? I went, yeah, I do. And he still didn't believe me. He just kept pushing. And finally, another guy at the table goes, hey, Bob, not his name. Hey, Bob, this is about you. This isn't about Jim. This isn't about Robin. This is not about Flatirons. And then he said something I didn't understand. Is this about your sister? And I'm lost now. And then Bob says, probably. I find out Bob's sister, bipolar, and committed suicide 10 years ago. Right? And then it all made sense. All the anger, all the resentment, all the slapping and punching and insults being thrown my way had nothing to do with me. He's mad at God. He's really disappointed in a church that didn't care. He's just angry at life. Right? It's at the bottom, can you see what's going on? Yeah. Why did God take care of you all and not my sister? You ever had that prayer? And then you know what? All the anger, it just made sense. And all the anger left the room, and all I felt for him was love. And I reached across the table and grabbed his hand and go, buddy, I love you. And here come the tears. Right? I got it right one time. But what if I hadn't? What if I hit back? Here's the answer. I would have won the battle and lost the war. What's the war? Bob had gotten up from that table and gone out and hated God more. Been done with church and pointed at me and said, there's one more example of why I can't do this anymore. Right? You got to see stuff different. You got to think different. Did it one time. I want us to get one under our belt this week. So I started with this story of here's Jesus right here in a manger, on a cross, whatever that is, and we live our lives right in front of him, and we miss him all the time. And Jesus knew it would happen. And he says, but you're worth it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. Who does that? Well, Jesus. So I want to be that kind of person. I can't be him. I want to move that direction, though. So here's what I'm going to ask you to think about. Would you consider, in light of we don't have it all figured out, but that seems like a better response than what normally I do. Would you maybe, because I'm not a prophet, but let me tell you what's going to happen this week. People are going to insult you, persecute you, say all kinds of evil against you. Some of us are going to get slapped around, either verbally or emotionally, some of us physically. And our first response is to just go back and pay them back. And it makes sense sometimes. But here's what I'm just saying. Before we do that, would you be willing this week to just take a breath and step back? And I got to think about this different before I do what I always do. And I want to look and see if something else is going on. And then do what you have to do. And what if we, again, who does that? Well, Jesus does that. But wouldn't it be great if this week we could look back over the week and go, I did on Tuesday, I got one. And then maybe that'll lead to Wednesday. And who knows where it goes from there, but we gotta think different. So, all right, let me wrap this up. I have like 26 seconds. And so, really fast, let me tell you the road to get to this series. Right before I went to Spain, I went out to Baltimore. And I told you about this in the spring. I have a kid in my youth group that grew up and started a church in Baltimore. And it's been going for 10 years. And they finally built their very first, auditorium with kids space and all that. And so I finally got to go out there on November the 7th. And I got to speak for it, the very first service. And so I stepped on that stage and went, hey, it's good to be at Flatirons East. Because it's just like it's this, all right? And they kind of went, I don't know if anyway, and but and they're probably watching right now, so hey, Mosaic. And but then they opened up their building with the song that I want us to learn. And it's such an amazing song because it's everything I've said so far, only better than I've said it. And the title of the song, I'm gonna write this down, is Jesus. It's memorable, all right? And it's Jesus. There is no one like you. There's no one that compares to you. There's no one who does what you do. But I want to move that direction. So as we teach you this song at all of our campuses, whenever it becomes your song, you can sit, you can stand. We are on time, so there's no need to leave early, kids. And Jesus is watching. And, no, if you have to leave, you have to leave. But it's just especially the back half of this song is just powerful. And I just want you to think about stuff this week. Cool? So God, in this moment, I just want to say this. I'm so glad that when you look down from that cross and saw my life and my story, and I think I speak for a lot of us, you said, I'm going to do it anyway. Knowing that there would come a day in history, and for some of us, today is that day where we finally pay attention and go, that sounds better than what I have. He sounds better than what I'm doing. And we take a step in your direction, but we're going to need your help because we've never done this before. We've never looked at it like this before. We've never thought like this before. And so we're going to go in your direction. So God, give us eyes to see like you see, and a heart to feel what you feel, and a brain to think like you think, so that when we walk into whatever we walk into this week, who does that? Jesus. This time I did too. That's our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Jesus, there is no other like you. Jesus, there is no one beside you. Jesus, there is no other I adore. Jesus, there is no other like you, Jesus. There is no one beside you, Jesus. There is no other I adore. You hold healing in your hand, where the scars from nails reside. From your head and down your flows the blood that gives us life. And Jesus, there is no other like you, Jesus. There is no one beside you, Jesus. There is no other sinful love. You revealed the Father's heart as you cried out, "It is done." Jesus, there is no other like you. Jesus, there is no one beside you. Jesus, there is no other I adore. Oh, yeah, There's no other, there's no other like you, God, my Savior, my Jesus. If for sin, you said to all my sin and shame, forgiven. You said that you would rise again. You're risen. You said that you would come again. You're coming soon. We wait for you. Oh, yes, we wait. You said to all my sin and shame, forgiven. You said that you would rise again. You're risen. You said that you would come again. You're coming soon. We wait for you, Jesus. Jesus, there is no other like you. Jesus, there is no one beside you. Jesus, there is no other I adore. There's no other like you. Jesus, there is no other like you. Jesus, there is no one beside you. Jesus, there is no other I adore.
Right. Great morning together. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We would love if you would stop on your way out at those Christmas sales. Love if you would just be able to buy some stuff out there, support our local and international partners around the world. Prayer team up here at the front, buckets at the back if you would like to give. Have a great week, everybody. We love you. We'll see you next time.